Why, hello there. Today we're going to be talking about overcoming obstacles as it relates to bankruptcy. And think about that. I was bankrupt. Now I have 4 houses plus my own. That's 5 houses and building. My name is TJ Shimeld. I'm the president and co-founder of The Vanishing Wheelchair. Here today to talk to you and share a little bit about a situation I had gone through. In previous videos, I had talked about my car accident and how that had affected me on a mental level and a physical level, obviously. But today I'd like to share a little bit about the aftermath of all of that, of once I did my therapy, was able to get back to life. We had a financial crisis in regard to that. The insurance one day had told us that they would cover everything, our medical expenses, everything in relation to the car accident. The next day they called back and said, well, we made a mistake, actually nothing's covered. And of course we were shocked, why not? And they cited a very odd rule in North Carolina, a law called the phantom car. And I understand the law in regards to it is helping for insurance fraud, so people don't just run into a telephone pole and say, oops, there was another car that did it, it wasn't me. But in this case, it was another car that ran us off the road, caused the accident, but it didn't hit me. Of course, I was very upset to hear this, but even with witnesses and everything else, insurance wasn't going to do anything. So, I was out of work for 3 months. I did get a short-term disability, which thankfully that kept us sort of afloat. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. We had a young child, just over a year old. So she was taking care of me and him, and we did not have the ability for her to go out to work. And of course, there were ongoing medical expenses, the time I spent in the hospital, the surgeries I had on my hand, physical therapy, all of this costs money. And yes, we had insurance. It helped pay for some of that. But not all of it. The short-term disability, I was just making a percentage of my normal income. I believe it was like 60%. So we were struggling for a while. And those repercussions, once I got back to work, was able to get back to performing, doing magic shows, making money that way, that built. And we lived on credit cards. I was starting sort of a new business here in North Carolina with my magic shows, so we were spending a lot of money in advertisement, marketing, and all of that, and not getting as much back right then because we were just starting. I was used to, when I lived in New Hampshire, the phone would just ring and I'd have shows and it was great, but now I was starting in a whole new location, trying to get my name out. So it took time to build. Well, during that time in that building, our credit cards built. And we eventually got to the point at the time my wife Jennifer was doing a lot of our personal finances and accounting, and she was starting to have to make those choices of, okay, well, we have a phone bill, we have a mortgage on a new house, you know, or what are we going to spend on? You know, we need to eat, so is this credit card bill really that important? So bills, and this is now, after our accident, this is now years later, we moved from an apartment to a house. Our expenses, you know, increased a little bit with the house, but things never got back to zero from the car accident. And so things were building, our business expenses were increasing. It seemed like everything was going up. Jen again was still home with the child. I was working, trying to get other jobs. I had another job too as an editor of the Linking Ring, which is a journal for magicians of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. So I edited a portion of that magazine that supplied, a little bit of income from that. So we were trying. We were doing everything we possibly could. And it got to the point where we were so behind on bills, and then we'd get fees because we didn't pay on time, and just everything was building and building, and it was so overwhelming, and we just didn't know what to do. We consulted a lawyer, and he advised us to declare bankruptcy. Now, for me, in how I was brought up, that, you took responsibility for your life, you paid your obligations, and so for me to declare bankruptcy, it was difficult. I couldn't just let go of my obligations. It's like I needed to pay that, but I had no idea how to pay it, and we were getting so far behind in everything. So we were convinced that the bankruptcy was the best route to go. We knew it would affect our credit scores and our ability in the future to borrow money, but I had this dream from 20 years ago that I wanted to invest in real estate, and my wife really wasn't on board with that, so I never had done anything with that, but I still had that in the back of my mind, thinking this is going to affect starting that business, and how I can't do that. But I was convinced that, okay, this is what we had to do, so we did it. It's a fact I haven't told many people in my life about that we had to do that. I felt embarrassed that my finances were so out of control that I couldn't control them. This car accident happened, which began that, and we did probably make poor choices along the way too, of how to balance our personal debt with the business debt and all of that, so I do take responsibility for that. But still, it was difficult. It was embarrassing. I remember I had to do credit counseling, and they even looked at our finances and said, yeah, bankruptcy was the best direction for us to go. So now we were able to, we declared Chapter 11, so we were able to keep our house and keep our cars, keep all of our stuff. It wiped out our debt with credit cards. The house itself, the way it works, when we declare bankruptcy, we could still live there, we could still pay on the house, but if we couldn't pay or didn't want to, we could just walk away, and there would be no repercussions for us. We could just walk away. But we decided, we were going to keep our life, keep things together. It was then several years, my wife and I did separate and get a divorce, an amicable divorce. We still co-parent our child together. And so it was a while before I got to the point where I could get a credit card. And it was a type of credit card that helped you rebuild your credit, which was wonderful. And I'd spend a little and then pay it off each month, and spend a little and pay it off and spend a little. And as it came, I wanted to get into the real estate stuff, and I was nervous because of the bankruptcy and didn't know what to do, and I came across this wonderful online education that teaches you how to do real estate investing, and got me part of a community of people. Now this is 5 years after declaring bankruptcy, and I now, with this education, have 4 properties. There's 3 rentals and a fix and flip property. And on the fix and flip, I am able to make as much on that as I did when I was working full-time as a pharmacy technician for one transaction. So this education in real estate investing, I realized so much that I didn't know about finances. I realized I could get houses with no money, none of my own money, none of my own credit, and create this business that within 18 months I was able to quit my regular job. And so I tell you this because there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. The situation changes. And back then, I didn't know what I didn't know. With this education, there's a portion of it called the essentials. And a lot of it is educating you on finance, which, I mean, everybody who's a high school graduate should know these things. And if I had that education years ago, I could have found a way to not declare bankruptcy. It was an embarrassing time. It seemed like the only way out, but now I have techniques and concepts where, again, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm so thankful that there was such an education out there. So again, I share this story because it may seem our problems are insurmountable. It may seem there's no way out. But please, please, please reach out to people. Reach out, educate yourself. You just need to hold on until the scenery changes. You need to take action sometimes. But you need to hold on because the scenery will change. Things do get better. I mean, think about that. I was bankrupt. Now I have 4 houses plus my own. That's 5 houses and building. I appreciate you watching today. Please subscribe to our channel for more advice on finances and building business and finding your passion in life. Join us on this journey. We will have links too in the bottom if you are interested in real estate investing perhaps, or even starting your own business. I'll have a link in the bottom that will connect you with my program that I had gone through. So if you have an interest in that, that will be there. Join us on the journey.